Okay, Mishnah, you give them a base. Reini Nazir, the Nazir Kishayeli Bain. He accepted upon himself two Naziris. We had a Gemara once upon a time that Naziris, not long Naziris. The person said, Reini Nazir Hayom, Reini Nazir Hayom. So
Two.
you can't do two at the same time simultaneously. So it's going to be two, and it's going to 30 days, and then he finishes the first, then he starts the second one. Here's a case a little bit more advanced. I'm a Nazir. I am hereby a Nazir, and I am hereby a Nazir, and I'm a Nazir when I'm going to have a son. So two Nazirs.
Two.
And one is independent. And it's not, thank you. And the Chorah should start right away. And the second one, he made himself to be a Nazir when he's going to have a son. The case was Hischamon Shalom. He started counting the one that he did independently, and then he had a son before he finished.
30 days.
So what does he do?
He waits and then he.
So I would think. Oh, yeah. So Mashlam Meshalo, he finishes off his own, right? That's like you said. Then he starts with the second one. Okay, so far simple. Now the next case.
Seems Pachit.
It seems Pachit. The hard it is.
Does he have to bring any kabbalas after his?
Yes. It's two separate zeros.
Two separate.
He does his first. He finishes it. Brings the kabbalah. Starts again. Another 30. Next case. Haveni nazir kishieli bein v'nazir. The opposite order. Same two things, but first he said, I'm a Nazir when I'm going to have a son, and I am hereby a Nazir. Same thing, that's the same different order. And he started the Nazirus right away because he's supposed to.
Why is he supposed to?
Because he accepted I'm going to be a Nazir right away. The Nazir. When a person says I'm a Nazir,
There's no
so,
waiting.
right, I think I'm hereby a Nazir.
Maybe you could say I'll be a Nazir tomorrow.
Yeah, if he said
say
that, but if he said I'm hereby a Nazir, Harini Nazir, he's a Nazir.
You
And if
can
he
get
says
a
that,
little dream cup of wine, pass it to
No,
someone.
here it says, I already know that she only ben.
yes, but then also the
But
Nazir.
then he said,
And
then
then the
last-
Nazir.
No, it doesn't.
not, he didn't say and then.
So doesn't he have to first wait till he has a son and then he starts his first years and then he's.
Moshe is saying that the Nazir means Kishiyeli Bain, I'm a Nazir and a Nazir.
Right.
But I'm not
So-
sure. Maybe it means that I'm a Nazir now.
Oh, I didn't think like that.
I'm a Nazir now,
I thought
and
he starts his Naziris when he has a son, and then afterwards he does another 30 days for.
except that he said and Nazir is gonna kick in on
I know
It
it
could
could
be.
be a bait.
Okay, so
No.
Moshe is saying that the Nazir is going on Kishiyeli Bain and then Nazir.
Oh,
I mean Nazir Kishiyeli Bain, the older Nazir. But it could be not. It could be that it means Nazir means right away. The Mishnah is going to tell us what he should do. It sounds like he does start right away.
He's come on in.
And if he would have finished his 30 days before he had a son, so fine, he finished. That's what it's mashma, that he doesn't have to do it after he has a son. The one about Arena as a Kishiyeli Bain, he has to wait for the son. That if he would have started, he's supposed to start right away,
And if he would have finished
30
30
days.
years without a son,
So then fine, he finished. He
then
finished
he'd
it.
go on with his life until he had a son.
And then it'd be another Nazir, fine.
Yeah.
But here the case was that the son was born, he started,
Within
his Lamon
30
Shalom,
days.
but then within 30 days, he had a son.
Mhm.
So what would you say? I would have said to finish off.
Yeah.
And then start the Naziris of the son.
Maybe,
Yeah, once he started already.
I'll say yes,
I
for
don't
this
know.
way, and that's
No,
not like
maybe
that.
he starts counting for the son and then adds the extra days for the second one. after.
So that's what it says.
That's
But I'm
what it
very
says to
surprised.
do.
Sounds like a big kiddush. Here it says, his Lamon Shalom. He started counting his own, but then he had a son within the 30 days. Yaakov knows lo bein. So he puts it on pause. Maniach Shalom. He did, let's say, so far
And
10 days. He has another 20 days to go. He had a son after 10 days. Maniach Shalom, Mona Eshel Beno. Yaakov Mashlim Shalom. He has 10 days. He puts on his record, I did 10 days already. Then he continues. He doesn't do any geluch. He doesn't bring the kabbalas. He didn't finish his
Right.
Nazirus yet. But then he does 30 days for the Nazirus of his son that he made because he had a son.
then he
And
needs to
then-
list it out.
So then they talk about, okay, you're right, you're right. They bring kabbalas for that. And then he finishes off his
The
own.
20.
Yaakov Mashlim Shalom. Then he
Yeah, and I
finishes
would
that
think
20
because
days.
the language is since it was first, it means as soon as he has a son, he has to become a Nazir.
Right. That's the Mishnah. So there's such a new invention that's called pausing a
I was in the
Zeros.
zeros.
He's in the middle of counting and he puts it on pause.
For in the zeros though, not for.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He can't say, I need a break. I need a cup of wine.
We're going.
I'll
to-
make, I'll
we
make a
have to go
break.
to Cancun for Pesach and I'll come back after.
So it seems that he can't do that. That seems, but there is a pause that it continues in the zeros, but it's for a different zeros. Fascinating concept.
What's the source, the source for that? I didn't.
I think more doesn't, I mean.
It's on the fourth Mishnah.
Okay, the Gemara is gonna have four, not conscious, four questions, four
The four
shaylos,
questions, like,
shaylos.
this is
This
Tu B'Shvat, we have the four questions.
Not four
Kosas.
conscious, but the four shaylos.
The four Shaylos.
Okay, so really it's Rabba's questions, and it has to, I think it all has to do with the Yesod about the such a thing as pausing in the zeros. Once we found out in the Mishnah, such a thing as pausing in the zeros, so he has a few questions. The first question is, boy Rabba, Amar, I would have liked to make some kind of diagram, but I didn't. Lo yet. So let's try. He's like this. I already know Zelacha Esrim Yom. He's a fancy guy. All these guys are very fancy. I'm done. I already know Zelacha Esrim Yom. Omayachshav Me'ah Yom. I'm a Nazir starting 20 days. In 20 days. In 20, a Nazir, of course, is 30 days. In 20 days, I'll be a Nazir for 30 days. And I'm starting also in Naziris right now for 100 days.
I'm starting in 20 days, I'm starting
And 20 days, I'm going to start on Naziris for 30 days.
and
And I'm starting right now on Naziris of 100 days. He's accepted upon himself two Naziris. One is the 30-day Naziris, which starts in 20 days for 30 days. And the other one starts right now for 100 days.
Right.
So what's the
well, how
question?
can it?
Yeah.
If
So
he
he goes,
start,
he does 20.
no, if
And then he-
he
then he
started
starts
one
at
and
30,
he's,
and then
no,
goes
if he
back to
started
80.
one for 100. Oh, I see. We're gonna interrupt it. And
They make a
when I'm-
pause, they make a pause. Just like you see, you can have a pause.
we
in
know
our
that he's
Mishnah.
gonna have to do 100 and
130 altogether.
130.
Altogether under 30, but the way he does it is he starts 20,
Right
He
now.
starts
No.
20 now from the 100.
and then he puts it on hold, and
Plus
then he does
30,
30,
then he
and
adds
he
80.
needs another 80. But the was not so sure about it. Mahu, is that true? Even though Lo Shalman, since he can't finish the 100 days in the first 20 days, he can't fit it in. So Lo Chaylen, so it doesn't start. It doesn't even start.
Yeah.
Doesn't start yet. Doesn't start. And he, what do you mean yet? He doesn't start it. Wait till after the 20, which does 30. Wait till after 50 days. And he did the Naziris. The first Naziris he said was after 20 days, I'm going to be a Nazir. You can't start the 100, even though he said Me'achshav, he
Right.
can't, because he can't get in the 100 into 20 days. Odilma, given the Islay, Gidul say, Highland, since he doesn't have enough days afterwards, he has 80 days left.
Right.
That's more than 30. 30 days worth of hair is called Gidul Seir. If he doesn't have 30 days left, then after Gidul Seir, then it seems it wouldn't have been a question.
Right.
But he has enough. He has 80 days.
Mhm.
So even though he doesn't have the ability to do all 100 days before, he still could do 20 days and then finish up afterwards. But there's a question about it, two sides. One side is yes, one side is not. I'm guessed, and in Mishnah's case, that it's not a definite thing when he's gonna have a son. He doesn't know he's gonna have a son exactly. So maybe over there, we do tell him that he starts counting before, even though he had a son within the 30 days, because it wasn't absolute. But over here, the Gemara seems, at least, to question that since he knows that he can't fit in 100 days and 20 days, so it doesn't start until after the Nazirus of 20 days, which went on for 30 days, is finished. But maybe it's good enough, since he does have enough time to go here. It means it's going to be 30 days worth of Nazirus after the Nazirus of 20 days is over. I hope I'm being clear. The Nazirus of 20 days means the Nazirus which starts after 20 days
Mhm.
and it goes on for 30 days. But then he has 80 days left because he started with 100 days in Nazirus, which he only did 20 of, 80 days to go. So 80 days is enough to be considered here, growing here. And it'll be in the Kabbanis afterwards.
Why, I'm lost. I thought 30 days is enough. Well, in his
Yes,
years,
yes,
it's
yes.
30
You're
days.
right. No, yes, you're right. And it
By
happened
30
to be
days, someone has, their hair's grown
right,
long.
right. So it's good.
But by 20 days, did his hair grow long?
The first 20 days, no, he's not finished yet. He has another 80 days to go. He did 20 days, and then he says, this is now the shame Yichud. This is going to be now, the next 30 days is going to be the other Nazirus
The
of
other
20
Naziris
days.
that I said
And
out.
then after he finishes, he has another 80 days that he owes.
Yeah,
And those 80 days are 30 days. He's saying the Gemara didn't have to give such a big case of 100 days. He could have spoken about 50 days. If he said, I'm gonna set the upon 50 days, so he'll do 20 before. And then have Hafsakah for 30 days, and then he has 30 days more to go. That's also Gittul Seir. Like more didn't have to have extreme case of 100 days. He could have said 50 days.
Right.
That also would have been 20, and 30 also would have been enough. So that was Rabbi's question. Before the Gemara continues, the Gemara is going to continue, and I'm going to continue in a few lines with more of Rabbi's questions on the fourth line. It's going to continue more and more questions of Rava. But before we do that, we ask, why did Rava start with it like a parenthesis? Why did Rava talk about this fancy case?
The first 20 days was not long enough to do the Gittul Seir.
Was not, that doesn't say that. It wasn't long enough to do the 100 days. He can't do the whole 100 days in 20 days. So maybe it doesn't start.
Yeah, since he can't finish his New Year's before the other New Year's.
Maybe it doesn't start, you have to start with 100 all over again after.
Not all over.
I
Don't
get why
start. Don't
did you-
start at all. Nothing starts maybe.
Or maybe
You tell him, drink
started
wine,
till after the-
drink wine. Even though
Because we're saying, we're trying to understand what his intention was.
it could be. I don't know. It could be that intentional that it can't be chal. Maybe it can't be chal. He's saying he didn't mean it.
I don't get, why is it different than Muslim? He said something can't be.
So he didn't say it can't be. Why did he say it can't be? In the Mishnah, he said he doesn't know when he's gonna have a son exactly. Maybe the Mishnah is better because he didn't know when he's gonna have a son, so he starts right away. I'm suggesting. I'm not saying if you have a better suggestion, it's better. In the Mishnah's case, they said, "I'm a nazir kishil libein, the nazir now." So you might say that he can't do the nazir
But why
now
is it?
because he's not gonna finish it. Maybe he will finish it. Maybe he'll finish it before he'll have a son, before the son is born. But in this
Where's
case,
the
he said-
klala if you can't finish something, you
the
don't
Gemara's
start?
asking. That's the Gemara's asking as a sign. The Gemara
If
says that.
someone who's a trafer makes another, I'm gonna be a nut, and says I'm gonna be another for a year. It won't be another. We can't finish the year.
I don't know. They want this seems to be the Gemara's question.
Why is it
No,
100 days?
I hear, no, I'm not arguing, I just don't understand, where do you, why should?
Given
Certain
that
things you
when you
can't
have
finish,
less
you
than
still gotta
enough
do.
If there's gonna be something which is, he has to do. I don't know. Since these 100 cannot fit into 20, so it doesn't take effect. I mean, even if he did it, maybe it doesn't take effect. Maybe he doesn't have to do it, and even if he did it, it doesn't take effect. Or since he has enough days afterwards to grow his hair, to continue, to finish off the 100 days, so he can have the 20 days now, and then they need 80 days later. The Gemara asks the kasha, why did he not ask a simpler question? The Tiboyle Nazirus Muertes. Why doesn't he first ask, how about if he only had, didn't accept 100 days? He accepted 30 days. He said like the same case, but instead of saying 100 days, why doesn't it say, I'm a Nazir after 20 days, of course for 30 days, and I'm a Nazir right now for 30 days? Why doesn't he ask that? I mean, we know the answer because he doesn't have Gidul Seir afterwards. If he does 20 days before, and then he only has 10 days left. In the case, the thing what Rob asked was, he has 80 days left. He accepted upon himself 100, he did 20, and he has 80 left. So he has Gidul Seir. What if he only accepted upon himself 30 days? And if he did 20 days before, he has 10 days left only after. That seems to be the Gemara's question. The first asked that question also. I guess it means even if you don't have Gidul Seir, the Gemara answers, Itaka meant that. That's the way the Gemara seems to say that he asked one out of, I don't know how to explain the terminology, but it means that
It's included in the other
it's
question.
included in the
That's
question.
what I
It
thought.
means like, that's what Itaka means, intim saloma, like that question is also a question, but even if that question is not a question, this question is a question. I don't know why it's called one out of one.
Meaning to say, can I come to your house at 2 for lunch? I mean to say, I'm asking first, do I come to lunch, and can you come at 2 o'clock?
Gaichada means one out of one. He asked him 1 out of 1. I would have said he asked him 1 out of 2. Like, he asked 1 out of 1. That's what the words literally
It
mean.
was asked after one.
It was the second one of his question was after the second question. Means it really means this first question, but he's just going further and saying a second question. And he explains. The Gemara explains what the first question would have been. Intim Shalom Nazirus Muertes, that's Chibud Asar Yoman Hudi Yasrin, Lo Salak Lehalein Asara Badai. In the case where he only, let's say, a regular Nazirus, that he said 20 days I'll start. And also I'm making a Nazirus from now. He only has 20 days to do, he has to do another 10 days. So since there's only going to be 10 days left, which means he doesn't have Gidul Seir afterwards, so then it doesn't count at all. He just to point out a footnote, technically, even if he only has 10 days left and he doesn't have enough hair to cut, he could just wait another 20 days anyway. It's not going to be called the Nazirus. The Nazirus was finished after 10 days. because he did 20 before and 10 after, so he has a sum total of 30, he's okay. You have to have a technicality to have here, so okay, so wait another 20 days just to grow your hair. There is such a possibility, but it could be that since it's not going to be enough days of Gilul Seir, so maybe it doesn't count. And therefore, we're not going to say that he should start 20 and then finish off 10. But even if that's true, even if you're going to say that when Nazir's Mutter, since he doesn't have enough time after the Nazir's of 20 to have Gilul Seir, so then in that case, surely it doesn't start before. But Nazir may yom, but if he accepted upon himself after the Nazir, besides the Nazir's of 20 days, he said he should be a Nazir from now 100 days, given this late time in Yom and Lebesov, so can lay although. Since he does have enough time to Gilul Seir afterwards, he has 80 days, even 30 days would have been enough. Maybe that's good enough, and he could start 20 and then 80. So that was Rebbe's first question. And he had two questions really. The first question was even if he only had 10 days afterwards. Second question is if he
That's
has,
30 together, isn't that good enough?
that's the one it says.
That's one of the
Question. That's all these sudden. It could be that he, even if the simplest question would be that if he has only 20 days before and 10 days after, that
Do they?
maybe that's good. Maybe that's not good because it doesn't even have enough time to cut it. There's not a Gilul Seir afterwards, only at 10 days afterwards. Even if that's not good, maybe in the case where he said 100, or we could have said 50 also, that he has 20 days before and 30 days, 80 days after, so he has enough time. Maybe that's also, or maybe not. Maybe it's still, if he doesn't have enough time to do the whole Nazirus, he shouldn't start.
Uh-huh.
And if you're going to say that in this case where he said about 100 days, he does start the 20 days before.
I don't mean that we go on it.
Highly means that it takes effect.
The what?
It takes effect.
It takes effect, yeah.
How about the next question? Amar Reini Nazir Lacha Chaf Yom, Umayachshav Nazir Olam. Not that he says I'm a Nazir. The beginning is the same. I'm a Nazir in 20 days, and then the first case was Umayachshav 100 days. Now, even if that case it is Chal, what if he said, and from now I'm going to be an everlasting Nazir?
Mm.
That's interesting because he's never going to get out of it. If it starts now, what's he going to do? He's going to pause for the 20 days.
If he pauses, then it wasn't forever.
So he's pausing the forever one because
Just
because
forever.
the one after 20 was called first. He said, he gave in his application
Mhm.
that he's gonna he's registering for the Nazirus, which is gonna be in 20 days, and then he starts in Nazir Olam right away.
This is what math.
So what's the question now? Does it start? Sure, he has to be in Nazir Olam afterwards, but does he start to be in those first 20 days? Does he have to be in Nazir? Or we say that he can't get the Nazir Olam into this 20 days, and you're not going to be able to.
Interrupted.
That's the question. Could you interrupt it? You're not, and it's worse of it because you're never going to be able to fill it in,
Right.
to fill it up, make it up. No, make it up. That whenever you're pausing, you're not until now. Whenever you pause, let's say 100 days. Whatever you pause for 30 days. He'll make up to 30 days. It means instead of going till day 100, you're going till day 130 because you paused. That doesn't count for this. But here, the Nazir Olam, you never can make it up. That you can't say that the 20 days. You can't do that.
Unless you say Makshav means after the Nazirus that started 20 days from now. And
Yeah, that's
from
one
now
side.
on.
No, yeah, that's one side that he doesn't start the Nazir Olam until after the 20-day Nazirus, until after that. But the side is maybe he has to start right away. That's the question. Does he start right away or not? Do you say that since he can't get the Nazir Olam into now, and also add in that there's no way that he's going to be able to make up the pause, so it's not Chal? Or maybe you say that it does. It's Chal right away. You start, you pause, and you continue. All this is based on our mission. It says such a thing as a pause Nazirus.
Uh-huh.
And question number 3, there's a reason why you should be able to start right away, because he starts right away the Nazir Olam. And what's the problem? When he comes to day 20, there's a Nazir standing over there that's registered already, that it should be activated on day 20, that he should start becoming a Nazir, which he registered at first. First he said, I'm any Nazir after 20 days. And then he started Nazir Olam. He wanted to start. How could he start? If he started Nazir Olam right now, you're never going to be able to do the 20-day
20
one.
days.
So maybe it's not a problem. Be shoel on that Nazirus. Be shoel on the Nazirus of 20. Maybe it's possible to be shoel, to retract on the one of 20. So start right away the Nazir Olam and go to a Rav and retract the one that you registered, that you accepted upon yourself, that should be chal after 20 days, and just be the Nazir Olam. And you do have to start right away. The Gemara is throwing in this forward that since it's possible to retract it.
Where's the word retract?
It's shule. We always call it
Oh, right,
Bishol,
right.
Bishol on
Ask-
Naziris.
to ask to
Ask
get-
the Rav to be able to be Naziris and he'll be able to retract it. So maybe you should start right away. And even though you're not gonna be able to do the 20-day one, so retract it.
Because his language was stira.
Yes, you start, and the Achshav Nazirola obligates him to start right away. And if he starts right away, he's not gonna be able to pause for the 20-day one. Okay, so retract it. Maybe. And the fourth question, is that true? Am I counting right? This was the third question. That was the third question. We did put into Rob unspoken question, but if you just count Rob's questions, this is now going on to the third question. 1, 2, 3. Amar. Aveni Nazir Shimshon la'achar 20 yom, u'mayachshav Nazir stam. He accepted upon himself a Nazir Shimshon after 20 days. From right now, I'll be a Nazir stam, a regular Nazir, which should be 30 days.
And
And
after 20 days.
after 20 days, I should be activated in Nazir Shimshon. Nazir
Shimshon is
Shimshon.
also for
Nazir Shimshon is also an everlasting thing, but the main point that Gemara wants, it says it over here, that there's no such thing as retracting a Nazir Shimshon. Once a person said, I'm going to be a Nazir Shimshon, you can't retract it. Why not? Doesn't say.
So it's an
And it's a
eternal-
Gemara in Marcus also that says the same thing, I'm sorry.
Isn't it an eternal?
Yeah, but
Like
everything, but
Shimshon
you,
had an
and
eternal-
Nazir Olam is also eternal, but you can retract it. Like anytime you make a neder, and you can retract it, so why can you retract
Wants
it?
to start the other way. Who said you should, to retract any neder or any nazir is a chiddush.
But you can.
Wherever you don't have a makar, then you wouldn't be able.
What do you need a car for? Why is it different than a Nazir Olam? What's the
Let
difference?
me say amendments in.
I mean, what's the difference? There has to be some kind of a difference. And Nazir Olam is also everlasting Nazir, so why should there be a difference?
Mhm.
So there's a Rambam that says that the Shimshon personally was not able to retract because he didn't make himself a Nazir. He was made a Nazir by the Malach.
The word,
Fine.
the word.
So he didn't make himself a Nazir, so he can't retract it. What's he going to say? I didn't mean it. Like, I didn't. No one asked you. So maybe that's the reason why Nazir Shimshon is different. But our Gemara says openly that, but he's accepting upon himself a Nazir Shimshon. I mean, that's still difficult because the Maisa he is accepting it upon. So he's saying I'm doing it by Shimshon. And saying Shimshon wasn't able to, so I'm accepting that I should never be able to retract it. Why can't you retract that also? But the Gemara says a fact that you can't retract the Nazir Shimshon. It's also Gemara in Marcus they bring down. Marcus Avchav Beis that the Nazir Olam you could retract the Nazir Shimshon, you cannot. So leaving out the reason why, we just suggested a reason why, but I don't understand it so well. Rashi seems to say, and Marcus, I wrote down that Rashi that only Shimshon himself wasn't able to. Someone who was a Nazir Mibetem. But if someone accepted upon himself a Nazir Shimshon, he could. But our Gemara says not like that. Our Gemara says even accepting upon yourself a Nazir Shimshon, you cannot retract. So we'll leave the why as a footnote. Why? Why can you not? But if the fact is that it's a kind of a Nazir you cannot retract, so the Gemara is asking that even if the above question, you would be start the Naziris right away. The Nazir only will start right away. And then when it comes to after 20 days, when it's supposed to be activated, the 20-day one will tell you to retract it. But this is a kind of a Nazirus that you cannot retract. He says, in 20 days, I should be a Nazir Shimshon, and I want to start now, a Nazir Stam. If he starts the Nazir Stam now, he does 20 days. When it comes now, after 20 days, he's supposed to be a Nazir Shimshon. He can't, because he can't what? He can't start the Nazir Shimshon because he's never going to be able to finish the 10 days that he owes of the Nazir Stam because the Nazir Shimshon goes on forever. So these two things contradict each other.
They can't coincide.
You never could do two at the same time.
You can never do two at the same
If
time.
he's a Nazir for one, like we said, whenever a person is in a Nazir, Chalal Nazir means he finishes one, that does the other one. But he can't do two at the same time.
So the whole thing is buckle.
So that's the most question, does it take effect? Mahu, hachalo, avshelet shule, michaila olo. Since that the Nazir Shimshon is not able to be retracted, so maybe the 20-day one, I'm sorry, the Mayach of Nazir Stam doesn't take effect because he's not going to be able to do it. It's never going to be able to do it. He can't do it now 20 days and finish eventually because eventually it's never over. And he can't retract on that Nazir Shimshon. So maybe the one that he said, Mayach of Nazir Stam cannot take effect. Those were Rov's 4 questions. And I think it all comes into the sugi because this is where we found out there's such thing as pausing in the zero. We didn't know such thing exists. Once we know, so we had all these questions. He has one more question, a 4th question, which has nothing to do with l'chara, nothing to do with the subject. But Rav had another question. Amar Moshe b'Shiva ba'Adar. He didn't say, Areini ki Moshe b'Shiva B'Adar. What is Moshe b'Shiva B'Adar?
I thought we only was sort of when he was born and died on that.
Right, mamish, that's what the Gemara means, and he's supposed to figure out that there's a question when he says, I'm gonna be like Moshe b'Shiva B'Adar, what does that mean? Does it mean that he's gonna be a Nazir because Moshe Rabbeinu died on Shiva B'Adar? Or does it mean that he's gonna make a party because Moshe Rabbeinu was born on Shiva B'Adar? Nothing to do with our Gemara, nothing to do with about pausing in the zeros.
He said Hareini Kamoshe.
Hareini Kamoshe, it doesn't mean Kamoshe, it means Hareini Kibnei Yisrael, B'yachas LaMoshe, Yeshiva B'Adar. How did Bnei Yisrael react on the 7th of Adar as regards Moshe? So when he was born, everybody was happy. And when he died, everybody was sad. And for some reason, when people are sad, they become Nazir. That's what they say because it's people understand. So why?
And when people
why-
want to make a party,
And people don't want to make a party.
so this is a for a party, not a party.
And we had when people want like a gratitude to Hashem. So then, like someone when I have a son, I'll be a Nazir. Or he's going on a trip, he wants to make sure that he should be want more skuyot. He wants to be safe. I'll be a Nazir, like I'll become more holy during the trip.
Uh-huh.
But then when a person is bitzar, maybe it's kind of a tshuva, maybe some kind of a tshuva that he's going to be a Nazir. But that's the question. When someone says Kemoshe b'Shiva B'Adar, does he mean b'yachas to when he died or b'yachas to when he was born? And if it's when he
That was
died,
Mordechai's mistake. That was
Haman's mistake, that he said he's happy because it's Adar, but also he's born. So it has two avchanot. Shiva B'Adar has two aspects.
Yeah.
So that was the 4 questions of Yoga. Before what? Two B'Shema. Right. Two B'Shema.
This just brings down beyond also B'Shiva B'Adar, Mistama Rabin Nodru B'Neder Rabin is
Why? It's Tsar. Why? That's the question. Why? Why is the person with Tsar, he makes himself a Nazir? If it means that he's doing tshuva, maybe that's what it means. That the Tsar was that we need more skuyot, you have to become bigger tzaddikim. So maybe they became Nazirim. But they use the word Tsar. Both Taisus and also the Rosh also say. So I don't understand. We did that before already. When a person needs more skuyos because he's on the road, or if he's happy, or he was chus that he should have a son. Like he says that if I'm going to have a son, or if my friend's going to have a son, reasons why he would become a Nazir. That's like he said, I'll be a big tzaddik and I'll do something. But that a person is bitzar, so why is that a reason why I should? But that was Rabbi's 4 questions. And the 4th question has nothing to do with the other 3. It's like a different subject altogether. Showed me that those are Rabbi's 4 questions. And the Gemara is going to bring an answer to the first question. Showed me now you cut my son. We could bring an answer to the first one. To the first, we don't have answers to all these. All these are going to be taken. We don't know. But the first one we will bring a raya to, and that was the case of that he said, I'm going to be a Nazir starting 20 days, and also I'm becoming a Nazir starting right now for 100 days. So we wanted to know, does it start right away, or does he have to wait until the 20 plus 30 is over, and then to start his 100 days? So here the Brisa says, "Befavors." This is the Brisa talking. He starts 20 right away, makes a pause for 30 days to do the other Naziros which he accepted first, and then he has 80 days to go, and he finishes it all. In order to finish the Naziros that he started.
Why is there
And
pause
up
of
to
30?
What?
What's the pause of 30 after?
He said this case, I'm a Nazir after 20 days. So that's registered. He's a Nazir after 20 days, it's going to activate it for 30 days. And then he said, I'm a Nazir right now for 100 days. So he starts right now 100 days. But after when 20 days comes, then it's already activated the Naziros that he accepted first. That is for 20 days, for 30 days. So of his 100 days, he only has 20. And he has to stop for 30 days to do the other Naziros that he accepted upon himself. And then he has 80 days to go to finish off the 100.
Then it's a full 30, because that's what he accepted.
He pauses, so he pauses he pauses the Naziros of 100 in order to do the Naziros of that he accepted upon himself first, and then he has to finish and restart, not restart, continue the unpause. How do you say it? To start the pause, stop the pause.
You say that's the law, but it's not a Mishnah.
It's a Brisa.
It's a Brisa.
It usually the one would say like Toshma or something like that, but they say on the side, the Aleph, this by me it's an Aleph, but you use probably on the side, it says Tosefta Perik base. End of Gemara. New Gemara. Back to the Mishnah. The Mishnah spoke about the case of a son. Let's go back to the Mishnah a second. This is the second case. Areini Nazir Kishil Libain V'Nazir. I'm a Nazir when I'm gonna have a son, and also I'm a Nazir right away.
Mhm.
So it says he starts his, and then he pauses. When he has a son, he pauses the first Nazirus. He had this son within 30 days, so he has on hold, puts it on hold. I have whatever I have 15 days so far. He has another 15 days to go, and then he does the Nazirus that he accepted because of his son, and then he continues to finish off his own. So the simple case that he had on Nazirus, he puts it on hold in order to do the other Nazirus, and then he continues back with the first Nazirus. So here's a question that the Gemara asks. Nitma b'mei beno. What if he became Tamei? He became Tamei Mace in the middle of the Nazirus
Of
that
the son.
of the son. Let's go, he has his own Nazir, call it his own Nazirus and his son's Nazirus. The words don't, not his son, not his son's Nazirus. He's a Nazir because he had a son. So he started his own Nazirus, he paused it, put it on pause, put it on hold, and do the Nazirus for a son, then he's going to continue back to his own Nazirus. And he became Tamei Mace in middle of the son's Nazirus.
Which means he has to start counting again.
He has to start counting again. Does he have to start counting again also his own Nazirus? Or that's, when you put something on hold,
Is it on hold just for that one?
is it on hold and you not much put it away, you put it in the freezer, you don't know about it. Now we're holding now when the son's Nazirus and that other Nazirus is not here.
Mhm.
So he became tummy. Of course, he has to wait till he becomes Tohar, but he doesn't. It's not so said the first one. Maybe it's only so said the sons, but it's not so said his own. That's the question. Litma b'nei beno. Rabbi Yochanan was so said. There's Lakashama in a so said.
Soser would mean what?
It's so said his own also. It's surely so said the sons. It's surely so said the sons. The one that he did for the son, he surely has to do it again. But the question is it also so said the part that he did for his own Nazirus? He started his own Nazirus, whatever days you want. How many days? Till the son was born.
20.
20 days, and then the son was born. So he has, on his notebook, he writes down 20 days I was taken care of, 20 days of my own. I owe another 10 days after I finish my son. Then he starts his son's Nazirus for 30 days, and then he has another,
On the fifth day,
and now a
Fifth
few
day.
days, right? A fifth day into the son's Nazirus became Tamei. So whatever he did for his son, he has to start again. He's Tamei, and he has to bring Karbonos, and he
But
starts
does he have
again.
to start the other one?
Does he have to start again the 20 days that he did already on his own?
Or is because it's on hold, it's like in safety zone.
Right,
The time in between bottle the first. thing.
right.
Well, I
Rabbi
would vote,
Yochanan, you think like Rabbi?
I would vote that it's not like Rosh
It's
Hashanah.
lucky that it's not so, because it's safe.
It's
safe in
it's
the
a
time
safety
block.
zone, it's on hold, it has no, we're not doing anything. with it.
Accruing
Makes sense?
ribs. Back.
Yeah,
What's the
someone said-
question? He said I'm a Nazir and I'm a Nazir when I have a son.
So the case is that he's in the middle, he has a Nazirus that is on pause. He started in Nazirus A, he started, and it's paused, then he's doing Nazirus B, and then he's gonna finish off Nazirus A back again. When he finishes Nazirus B, he'll go back to Nazirus A again. And he became a Tamei Mace in the middle of Nazirus B. And that surely is gonna be so he has to start again the Nazirus B. Does it also knock off the Nazirus A that he started, that he's on pause?
Shuri Chazal had in mind that you have to have 30 days, connected days. and not-
You surely don't have to. You say they can such thing as pausing. That's what it says. You do the days and you pause, you do it again. That's not an issue. The question is, that's the Mishnah. We wouldn't have known it before today. Today in the morning, we woke up, we thought no such thing as a pause and zeros. But now we learned there's no such thing as a pause and zeros. You put it on pause and then you do something else, like on the computer. You're doing one project, you put it aside, and then you continue the different
Save,
project.
save. If
Yeah,
it's
yeah, but it's still, you don't close it. You don't say it's finished. It's, you don't close it and save it. You just pause it. You do another project at the same time. And it's working behind the scenes. So Macharusa said, just for the marshal, is it using up the battery still? When something's paused, that was like not here, it is, that's the question. That now that it became stomach, does the stoma knock off the Nazirus, which is on pause? Which is paused. So Rabbi Yochanan says it is, because the Maisa became Tameh. Because it's right now, he's not in that Nazir, he's only on the son's Nazir. The Gemara explains. Rabbi Yochanan was so said, even though it's on pause, but it still became one long Nazir. He has to do two
When he
Naziris.
says Arichta, he means that the 100-day
There's no,
is really.
there's
Is that
not,
Paisa?
there's not 100 days. This is the case of his own and his son.
It's a combination.
Let's get the case. He's not talking
Oh,
about the
his
case
own
of
and the son. His own.
and his
the
own
son.
is going to be
His
divided
own
into
is going to
fours.
be 60 days, not 30 days. That's what Rabbi Yochanan said.
His own and his son is a package deal. But I think
Well,
everyone's
he
gonna
says
hold.
Arichta sounds like it means his own is 60 days.
Yeah, I think that for sure he's gonna have to bring two carbonas. I think that's, maybe that's
Yeah.
gonna be an
Oh,
issue, but
that-
I would think there has to be carbonas for each
Not that
one.
it's one, it is two.
But as far as this considered, it's considered that it is connected enough that if he became tummy, it's gonna knock down his own Nazirus also, maybe. The words are, it's considered a one long Nazirus. This is the same what we say by Rosh Hashanah 2 days, Yom HaRichdei, like one long day. That's the question. Reish Lakish Amar ain't associated because each one is separate. Nazirus the day lechud or the brei lechud. His Nazirus is separate, and the son is now right now he's middle of his sons. So if he became tummy, it's not gonna affect his own. So his own is not knocked down. That was a question about Chlok Sheb Yochanan and Reish Lakish.
He's saying what, the battery is still what, using up energy? I don't get the much.
Okay, find a better mashal.
Well, I don't understand Rav Yochanan is the point. I don't.
Why? Even though it's on pause, but it's still there. If the, I'll tell you,
It's
I'll
on
tell-
pause,
I'll
but
tell-
he's not allowed to get
I'll
tummy,
tell you the mashal.
something like
He's
that.
in his computer and he has the project A. And he puts it on, puts it down, he
And he
minimizes it,
He opens
and he
another
starts
window, but
another
he's
window.
still in.
and then the computer crashes. And then he opens it up again. Did the pause one also crash?
Yes.
That's a
Got
real-
the app. there's-
There you go.
And he's gonna say, only this program
That's
crashed, the other one didn't.
Ah, that's right.
Then what? I didn't get the-
Rabbi Yochanan is like a computer that crashes.
And he doesn't live, he doesn't.
It's related.
And
The first one is related, even though it's on pause, it's still
program
related.
crashed.
It's still.
It's never gone. Any
Never.
guy that knows how to do it, he can always reach it.
That was one question.
It's never gone.
And there was another similar question.
We didn't get an answer.
No, it's Mahlokes. No, it's Mahlokes. It's not a good question, it's a Mahlokes. Mahlokes.
Simpler.
New case, Nitma b'mei tzarata. So we don't know about this yet, but if a person became b'mei tzarata.
Talking about computers.
So we don't know about this.
What
We don't know.
Saras is when you have
I
to,
know where it's like-
Taras is Taras. He's a nega. He's a Mitzorah.
is it for 7 days or something, or until it goes away? I forget.
Right, the whole parshas, Tazriya Mitzorah. But what's relevant to us is that when a person is in a Mitzorah, it doesn't count for his Nazirus. He's in the middle of a Nazir. We know that Tumas Mace knocks down counting. He's middle of counting in Nazir. He becomes Tamei Mace. Everything stops, crashes, start all over again. But how about being a Mitzorah? If someone's a Mitzorah, what happens? He was Nazir. Could he be a Mitzorah and not a
Wait,
Mitzorah?
he's a Nazir first?
Could a Nazir and be a Mitzorah at the same time? Could a person be a Nazir and a Mitzorah?
Where's the
Could he
problem?
be? Because Mitzorah is Tamei. It's a kind of a Tumah.
Yes, there's not too much.
Not Tumas Mace. So there's something unique about Tumas Taras that it doesn't count for the count, but it doesn't knock it down.
Oh, it doesn't knock it, right? It doesn't knock.
In a way, it's the same case as our case of a pause. It's a pause in the zeros. Someone's in the middle of a zeros and it became a Mitzorah. So those days that he's in Mitzorah, until he gets out of the Mitzorah, he is on pause. The first days don't fall off. The first days don't fall off, but he has to continue it. So it's not much similar to our case. That is a Mitzorah, is a Nazir on pause. In our case, the pause was that he's doing another Nazirus. That was the pause. And here the case is because he's a Mitzorah, so it doesn't knock down the previous days, but it doesn't count. So his Nazirus count is paused. And he became,
He's still not allowed to drink wine or not allowed to do anything, but you don't count it
mhm,
as days.
mhm. And now, okay, that's good. So far, that's
He's a
good.
Nazir, and then he became a Mitzorah.
Right. So what do we tell him?
So during the time of the Mitzorah, what happened to his Nazir?
So it's on pause.
Okay.
You
So
can't
that
And it
was
doesn't,
the
it doesn't count. And now the question is, David, I'm sorry?
You can't count those days as.
Right, he has to wait till he finishes, after he finishes, he gets out of the Tzarat, and then he's gonna continue counting wherever he left it. The question is, Nitma b'mei Tzarat, though, he became a Tamei Mace during that time.
Oh. Besides all that,
Besides, he's a Nazir and a Mitzorah and a Tamei Mace.
So,
So now the question is, does he became Tamei Mace during the pause, it's paused, his Nazirus
is
is
the Tamei
paused.
Mace while he's a Mitzorah? Or well, it's both, isn't
Yeah, but he's not, Rabbi Yochanan, Rish Lakish will say that it's not during
it?
my
It's on
Nazirus,
pause
the
now.
Nazirus
As
on
long as
pause,
it's on pause, it's separate.
right.
And Rabbi Yochanan says,
Rabbi Yochanan is so there. Shlomo Hashem ain't so there. Once again,
Uh-huh.
Rabbi Yochanan is so there. Then there's been a zero score. He's middle of a zero, even though it's paused.
uh-huh.
The Shlomo Hashem ain't so there. So Ras Lachud and Zirus Lachud. That when it's paused, it's not here. It's a different program. And even though this program had a problem, the other program didn't have a problem.
Mhm.
And then the Gemara goes to tell us tzricha that it's
You need
necessary
both cases.
to have these to both of them. You wouldn't be able to learn one from the other, even though they're very similar. But you have to have both of them in order to know their opinions. the itma bahach kamaisa, if we only would have said the pause of one of the zeros and another Nazirus, his father's Nazirus, his son Nazirus, he had two Nazirus on him, that one is paused arguing. That he Rabbi Yochanan Soser, because Shem Nazirus Achasi. The reason why Rabbi Yochanan knows that it's one package deal is because my Nazirus, my son's Nazirus, it's all Nazirus. So therefore, the whole thing crashed. They're all similar programs from the same company. Both of them are Word.
It's on the.
It's not in.
Because it's on the zeros, and so Tuma would.
So the one is knocked down, and knocks down the one of them which is paused because it's a similar type, similar program. It's under the same company. But in the case where he's a Mitzorah in between, the reason why it's paused, might think each one is separate. And say the opposite, only say the case of the Mitzorah, and we'll know the case of the Nazirus. Rish Lakish only means that it's separate when it's two different things. One is Saras, one is Nazirus. That it's considered one big deal. You have to have both machlokes in. So that was two machlokes in the Rabbi Yochanan Rish Lakish during a pause of the Nazirus and the Nazirus, and a pause of the Saras and the Nazirus. If something Tumas Meis happened during the pause, does it affect the Nazirus count? Now the more talks. Now the more it says the third case. Nitma b'yom didul seya. He became Tamei Meis while he was growing his hair. So growing his hair means that sometimes that he's out of the Nazirus. He finished the Nazirus already, but the technicality is that his hair is too short. He didn't have, whatever the case. We had a case before also that he started, and then after the pause is over, he only has 10 days left. He had such a case today already, and there are other cases also where he finished. His official count is finished, but he has technicality. He has to wait 30 days in order to get here, in order to cut it off.
And does that mean all the other laws of Nazirus are still kicked in?
So I think it's going to be. We're going to talk about that at the end of the page. But the question is, when it becomes Tamei Meis, he finished his count already. He finished his count. He's just waiting to get the long hair. So he didn't bring the Kabbanis yet. He came in the Kabbanis until he gets the long hair, 30 days growth, in order to be able to cut it. So he became Tamei. Is it Sosa or not? We might think it's similar to the question of Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish, that they talked about that he's out of the count. Here's not a pause in the middle. Here's like a pause after. That it's not even pause. He finishes his count, but technically he has to wait another day, couple of days in order to get long hair. So if he became Tamei, then is it going to be Soser, or he finished the count already? Leave me alone with the count. I finished the whole count. I technically have to get out of the Tumah now because I became Tamei, but it's not going to knock down. So you might have thought that it's totally in Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish, but the Gemara is going to say that it's not dependent, and they're going to be two machlokas, two opinions here. It's going to be Rav and Shmuel. It's not going to be Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish. It's going to be Rav and Shmuel. Rav Omar in a Soser, Shmuel Omar Soser. But each one's going to say that I'm not talking about Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish. Each one's going to be extreme. Rav is going to say in a Soser even according to Rabbi Yochanan, and Shmuel is going to say Soser even according to Rish Lakish. Rav Omar in a Soser, and he just has to wait till he becomes Torah, and then he goes with the Kabbanis. He doesn't have to do it Nazirus all over again. I feel Rabbi Yochanan Dama Soser, even Rabbi Yochanan said in the other two cases, Nitma, two Nazirus, and he was in pause, or the Mitzorah case, over there, Rabbi Yochanan said it's Soser everything. Over there, here not. As long as he's still in the middle of the Nazirus. He's in the middle of the Nazirus. It paused, but it's middle. But here he finished. Gidul Seir, Mishlan Nazirus. Gidul Seir is only to finish off the process, but it's not that he's in the middle of the Nazirus. He finished the Nazirus already. So here, everybody will hold Ein Soser.
So what would he do? He would just
wait till it becomes Torah.
wait till he becomes and wait till his hair grows.
Yeah, and then both of them do it to them, and then it'll be his Kabbanis. And Shmuel Lama Soser, and also not dependent on Rabbi Yochanan Rish Lakish. Afilu Rish Lakish, Dama Ein Soser, Hasam Shtei Nazirus, Sacha Chad Nazirusa. That's only when it's a different case. One is Nazirus, his Nazirus, the son's Nazirus, and the Mitzorah case. But here it's still all the same Nazirus. Because of his Nazirus, he has to still have his hair long. So it's considered an extension of his Nazirus. And if he's going to become Tamei, even though he's just waiting for his hair to grow, the Maisa, he has to start all over again. Period.
And he's saying that even Rish Lakish would agree.
What I'm saying. Lugamara. This is Leib Yaakov's question.
And we don't have an answer. It's just a Rav and Shmuel.
It's machlokas.
It's machlokas.
Right. That's not called not having an answer. That's a take. But the machlokas means there are two definite opinions. He says definitely yes. He's definitely no. It's not an unknown. That's a machlokas.
It's a machlokas.
We didn't prove the machlokas.
We didn't say how we passed it.
Right. Lugamara. Amar Rav Chizda. Hakol modim shem kidei seyor bedam ein lo takanu. What Chizda said, everybody agrees. And kidei seyor bedam. So I don't get the words exactly, but the idea seems to be that he brought his karbonis already. Here the Pirush,
Seir is his hair, isn't it?
serious, yeah? Pirush im la'achar
Sanctify
shenizra
his hair.
kadam nitma kodem shegilach. That the word, the pshat is going to be, I don't know what the words mean. The pshat is that he already bought his karbonis. He's ready, Amish in the Torah process. He's finishing off. He bought his karbonis, but he didn't yet cut his hair. When he brings the
He
karbonis,
brought the
he brings the
korbanos.
karbonis, and then he's supposed to cut his hair and put it under the fire of the korban shlomim. So he didn't do that yet. He bought the karbonis, but he didn't
And the Zrigas Adam is considered
the
the,
korban. The
even
korban.
things that have to go, is that the last process or?
He's supposed to cut his hair.
No,
He-
no,
he
the
does-
Zrigas Adam, in terms of the korbanos.
Yeah, he's still supposed to put the korban onto the mizbeach to burn, but the korban
Once
is
you
yotzei.
sprinkle the blood,
The
everything
korban
is
is
considered.
yotzei, right?
Yeah.
So that's called, and now why is it called kiddush seyor b'dam? The Korah kiddush seyor shelo gilach. Another way of saying, he didn't. Lo gilach
didn't-
b'dam. Dam means dam karbonos. Then the zrik of the dam. Kiddush seyor means that his hair is still growing. Why is it called kiddush seyor? Kiddush seyor v'kidash rosho shepirusho yaschal legadol rosho. When the pasuk talks about continuing to grow his hair, it calls it kiddush rosho. So these words, kiddush seyor, means if his hair is, it's very hard, the words, but if his hair is still growing, when the dam was sprinkled, which is supposed to be
But
like
it
that,
always is, right?
right?
That's
But I
the
mean,
right
it
order.
became tummy. But the point is, it became tummy. Nitma. He became tummy mace. After
After the
Kabbalah,
Zrigas Adam.
right? But he still didn't cut his hair.
Uh-huh.
So Akol
Oh,
Moed.
so should he be able to just what?
So the
Become,
question is it soser or not? That's what we think he's talking about because
Yeah.
Talmud Chalkis was Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yochanan Shlokish is a soser. So here we talked about Yom Gidol's Nitma of Yom Gidol Seir on the days that he still had. Okay, all the questions we had.
so
Yeah,
it
fifth
seems
percent
like Rob would
per se.
say no, and Shmuel would say yes.
So Akol Modim Shem Kiddush Seir B'Dam Ein Lo Takana. Everyone would agree that if he became Tameh when he already bought the Kabbanis and he didn't yet cut his hair, so he has no way out.
What does it mean, has to start all over? What is a no way out?
What does no way out mean? I'll leave it in mind. Yeah, I'll leave it to Rabbi Lezer. It's machlokes later on if tiglachas is makeves. If he didn't cut his hair, if he didn't cut it, supposed to cut his hair. Part of the process is to cut his hair and put it under the korban. For sure, what's the question? Toch Molosi. It's surely in the middle of his counting. He didn't finish his counting yet. The lister, and it should.
And it cost him a korban, and he has to start all over again.
I think so. And according to Rabbanan that say that tiklachas lo makeves, and ladibud Rabbanan, so what's the problem? Even if he's not going to be doing the haircut, it's not makev. So he can go on and his nazirus is over. Once you brought the kabbalah, so Rabbanan say,
Mhm.
even though lachatchila is supposed to do the tiklachas, but it's not makev. Ami tiklachas lo makeves. So what does Rabbi Chisda mean to say that if he became tamei before he cut his hair, he has no takana? Manavshach, according to Rabbi Lezer, there is a takana. Start again. And according to Rabbi Banan, he doesn't have to do anything because the glachas is not makev.
Meaning, not doing anything means waiting till he's tahar and cut your hair.
He doesn't even, he can cut his hair, but he can cut his hair, but it's nothing, it's not, it won't be cutting his hair.
His
in the
Naziris
process.
already was finished once
Right.
the Zrigas had
Right.
done.
And once he became tummy now, so he could cut his hair, but it's not going to be cutting his hair the way
Didn't
he
finish
should have
it.
done it, putting it under the korban, whatever you're supposed to do
Uh-huh.
in the Beis Hamikdash.
I see.
So the way answer is lo mali with Rabbanan. Rav Chisda meant to say, according to Rabbanan, say the glachas is not makev. Well, my ain't no takana. What does he mean to say? Ain't no takana the mitzvahs giluach. It's true. His nazirus is over,
Oh.
but he's not going to be able to do the giluach anymore because he
Because
became
that's
tummy.
gonna be on the korban, and his hair has to
Right.
wait
And
till
now
it's
he's gonna-
tahor.
Right.
He won't be able to burn it with the
Right.
right korban.
But he's
Right.
finished.
But he's finished. But he's finished. Yes, Gemara. Amar Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Chanin. This is what Levi Yaakov asked before. Nozeh shekadu lo yamav. He finished his count, but he didn't bring the korbanos yet.
He finished his count, but he didn't bring his korban.
And that's what we said here before. Nitma b'yom gidol seir. Sometimes these cases that he's still held growing his hair. There are cases that he finished his count and he still didn't bring the korbanos. So what is his status after he finishes his count and he still didn't bring the korbanos? Is he allowed to become tamei? Is he allowed to drink wine? Is he allowed to take a haircut? He finished his count. Amar Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Chanina, Nozeh shekadu lo yamav. If he finished his count, lo kal latuma, ve'ena lo kal latiklachas v'lo layayin. He chayiv malchus if he becomes tamei to a mace.
Is that fair? That's only if, I mean, like if he's gonna go purposely into the graveyard or something.
Yeah,
I
purposely,
understand.
of course,
Yeah, it
purposely.
doesn't-
We're not talking about accidents.
Yeah, Malchus is only purposely with Adam and Astra,
Okay.
they warned him and he said, I don't
So in
care.
other words, okay, so it's serious, he shouldn't become. temple.
Even though he finished his, even though he finished his days.
Yeah, he
even though he
finished his
finished the
days,
count.
but he still has to be careful not to become temple.
It was machlokas before Rabbi Shmuel, if he so said, right? Nitl b'yom git, if he finished his count, that was a case of Nitl b'yom git will say, he finished his count already. And he still didn't bring his kabbanis, it's even a machlokas if it's gonna be so or not, that was Rabbi Shmuel. Here he talks about is it a law? So Rabbi Shmuel says he's chayv malchus for that, but he's not chayv malchus if he takes a haircut or if he drinks wine, even though he's not supposed to. It seems everybody agrees that you're not supposed to, but is he chayv malchus if he does? So he says for tumah, yes, but to haircut and for wine, not. And the more wants to know where you get all this from. Why should he be chayv malchus? Why should not be chayv malchus? Ma'ishna tumah lucky. Why do you say that it's chayv malchus will be tamei? Because you have a pasuk. You must be dashing a pasuk. Damakra. Kol yimei aziro Hashem. Let's put the pasukim over here. Kol yimei aziro Hashem. Over there it says al nafshos meis lo yavo. The pasuk is talking about tumah. And it says, Kol Yimei Aziro, Hashem's kind of reboy, all the days that he's a Nazir. So that's coming with Rambos, Yom Shalach Hamalos, Yom Shalach Neimalos, that even the day after you finish counting, also, Kol Yimei, even the days after, till he brings the Kabbanas, he's not allowed to become Tamim. So if that's true, there's not a pasuk also. If he's saying whatever it says, Kol Yimei Aziro, it's going to mean even days after you finish counting, have the same din as if before you can finish counting. He should be Chayiv Malchus for taking a haircut also.
Mhm.
Dam Rachmana. Kol Yemei Neder Nizro Tavo Yavar Al Rosho. And he should dash the same thing all the days. Kol Yemei, all the days of his Nezirus, a razor shouldn't go over his head. And dashin Kol Yemei. He should dashin also that Lasos Yamim Shalach Amalos Kiv Hamishlof Neimalos as far as the haircut. And also kasha number 2, I'm sorry. Kasha number 2, you should also dashin. It says by drinking Kol Yemei Nizro. He should not drink anything that comes out of the great punch. So he also should dash the same thing. And say that if he drinks wine after they finish the count, he should be chayiv malchus. The answer is top of the page. Hello. Shani Yachad Am Rachmana V'timei Rosh Nizro. There's another pasuk. This psukim alone of Kol Yimei is not enough. If it will be Kol Yimei with dash, and even after you finish the count, so then you're right. Then all of them should be chayiv malchus. It's a different pasuk. It says V'timei Rosh Nizro. And what's the what? That if he became tamei, when it says when he became tamei, so then his head of Nazirus becomes tamei. So what is that? What do we learn? Mishen Israel totally lover Rosho. As long as his hair is growing, his Nazirus is dependent on his head. So as long as his hair is still growing, so if he becomes tamei, also it's chayiv malchus over there. What is that?
It's an issue.
It's an issue, and it's going to become chayiv malchus. So another person, the kol yimei is not enough. But the Marza Kasha from a Bryce that says openly, not like Rabbi Yisrael Rabbi Chanina. Meisvei knows that Shekol Lo Yama. He finished his count, so he's not allowed to. Also, Lagalech Lishos Shar V'Tami Mason. Not everybody agrees to. He's not allowed to do anything of these 3 Yisum, even though he finished his count. But the Bryce says openly that it's chayiv malchus also. Rabbi Yisrael says only chayiv malchus on the tumah. Them Gila or Shasa Yayin or Nitmala Mason, but raises up like a Sarban. Excuse me. Thank you. He's chayiv malchus. Thank
What
you.
is Sofig?
Sofig, I don't know. Sofig Kasavram, usually we use Sofig like he absorbs 40
Oh,
lashes. Is
Yeah,
that,
what's wrong?
the way he
He's
says
gonna
it?
get 40 lashes.
He absorbs it.
No feeling.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the word Sofig means. If anybody finds out what it means. It means chayiv malchus. That's surely what he means, right?
Sponges the 40 lashes.
I don't know.
You don't
But the
think so?
point is that I don't know. Maybe we'll look into it. We have a couple of minutes. But it means chayiv malchus. So it says openly that it's chayiv malchus. So Tufta, a knockdown on a basic of Chanin who says
Even
not
though we
chayiv
have
malchus.
that extra pasuk, is that what?
Right, so now we're going to say that it's
This
not
is
this
the
pasuk.
basic-
These psukim alone are the drasha, and we have psukim for each one. Kol yimei aziro Hashem, kol yimei neder Nizro, kol yimei Nizro. All this is the real drasha now. That each one tells you that he's chayiv malchus for doing it even after he finished the malos, he finished his full count. Still, he's chayiv malchus if he does any one of these 3 things. Is it so, sir? So that was machokas before that the tumah. The other things are not so, sir, anyway. If someone takes a haircut in between or drinks wine, it's not so, sir. doesn't, he's not allowed to, but it's not Sosa everything before. As far as Tumah, he would have before Machlokas if it's Sosa, after he finished, Machlokas Rav and Shmuel, if it knocks down what he counted already. That should call everybody. Thank you.
We receives, who said receives?
Where's it come from?
Received.
Yeah, where's it
So
come
what?
from?